in Game 5? Could be Clayton. Is it Clayton Kershaw?
It would be Game 5 if it gets there, I think.
Okay, Game 5. So the Dodgers.
Game 2.
Okay, so they would have a big advantage there. By the way, the UFC, since the 1980s, when I got into this business, there's been a lot of leagues that have been formed, and they've all died. The one that's been created and worked is UFC. It did not exist when I started in this business. Didn't exist. It didn't exist 10 years when I was in this business. Then they started it, and last night or this weekend, there was chaos. Conor McGregor, who threw a dolly at Khabib months ago, and then this fight, and after the fight, Khabib's jumping into the fans, and there's fisticuffs, and everybody's freaking out, and I'm saying, this is on brand. This is what this sport is. This sport is raw. It is at times over the top. It is completely unpredictable. Folks, sports is all about, did you see that? That was did you see that moment? The sport has survived many times because of its unpredictability, its raw, visceral, inappropriate edge. Listen, tennis and golf are for the elite people. Football and hockey is tough guys. It gets violent. This is crazy people. We see fighters get kicked off cards. We see fighters kick, claw, do stuff you shouldn't do. The comments after these fights are sometimes, there was one this weekend of Joe Rogan, outrageous. You get banned from a network. This UFC is the sport. There was a slot that was available in America. The XFL tried to do this. That the NFL was too coached, too clean, too systematic, and the XFL came in and said, we're going to be a little inappropriate. Guys may swear on the air. This is not going to hurt this sport. This is what this sport is.
I don't think it's going to hurt the sport, but you can't involve fans' safety in this sport.
There were 17,000 people at that fight. And by the way, where they jumped into it wasn't really the crowd. It was jumping into trainers, some media. 4 people got,
I'm some media. I don't want a UFC fighter coming flying through the air at me.
But I don't either. But people go to hockey games and have a puck hit them in the temple, and people go to baseball games and get
I mean, a stray puck is one thing. A trained assassin climbing over the cage,
but he didn't
after people in the stands.
Well, he didn't want to hit anybody in the stands. He wanted to get McGregor's people because they got real personable about his family and his culture and his religion.
I don't care what is said to you. You don't think horrible things are said to football players on the field? We know horrible things are said to basketball players on the court because we can hear them because it's very small and intimate. There's no excuse to climb over and involve fans and media in your sport. There's a reason why there's a license that you get to box and fight.
I'm not saying it's appropriate.
Because your hands are literal weapons.
It will not hurt this sport at all.
I don't think it's going to hurt the sport, but it's not acceptable. Like at one point or another, they have to say you can't behave this way outside of the
There's a reason that most networks won't buy UFC. There's a lot of networks are like not interested. But in order to they created a slot in the marketplace. They make their money on pay-per-view, not advertising.
I love UFC. I love these big fights. I think it's completely taken over boxing. I think it's great for the sports world in general.
Wildly entertaining.
I think McGregor is huge. I think Ronda Rousey was huge. And it was a great, entertaining fight, and everyone was watching. I'm just saying at one point or another, you got to put your foot down and say you can't throw things into buses full of other fighters. You can't climb over the octagon into the crowd and cause a melee when people are paying thousands of dollars to watch you fight.
And I'm saying part of their brand is dangerous, and that's why a lot of advertisers don't want to be involved, but it's what drives their pay-per-view. I think they found an American slot. I think they found a slot in sports that's available that other leagues don't want to go to, don't want to get involved in, and UFC's like, listen, we're crazy here. I mean, you've seen their press conferences; they're throwing stuff at people.
Yeah, but that's not okay. Like at one point or another, you got to have some level of respect.
Couldn't you argue that this was not orchestrated? Obviously,
right?
But those press conferences.
Press conferences are totally.
But I mean, people have gotten punched. They're orchestrated. I think this is their brand. I think their brand is we're crazy people.
If another fighter gets punched, that's fine. That's what you signed up for. I didn't sign up to go to a UFC fight and accidentally get Khabib's elbow in my eyeball. I'm not coming back from that.
Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Heard on the news. This is the Herd Line.